What is heroin addiction or heroin in your perspective?
From my perspective, technically speaking, I guess you can say heroin is an opioid, and as I'm sure most of you all who are viewing this film or this video know that there is an epidemic, an opioid epidemic in our community, in our city, in our country. So anyway, it's, in terms of opioid addiction or heroin addiction, is basically a dependency upon a certain chemical, whereby your body will have a physical reaction if it does not get that particular chemical.
When you're addicted to heroin and it just consumes your life, and that's all you think about is where you're going to get your next fix. So that's how I would define heroin addiction.
Also, when you're talking about addiction, it's not just the students that are impacted, but it's also family members that are impacted. So it may not be a student that is addicted to heroin, but it may be a mother, it may be a dad, it may be an uncle. Whoever it is impacting that student, because that's where their head is at that point. They're worrying about family. They're worrying if they're going to come home and find, their loved one that may have OD'd. So again, it's a far-reaching epidemic, and it impacts our students in various ways.
What are the consequences of doing heroin?
Well, besides the physical, addiction of being on and addicted to heroin, I mean, it's a terrible thing. It's I've never. I've been blessed where I haven't had anyone in my family who has struggled with heroin addiction, but I've had family members that have struggled with addiction. So it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing, and it needs to be. Every resource available needs to be used to help solve this problem.
What are the consequences of doing heroin?
Consequences to doing heroin. Well, on the surface, I mean, individuals can lose their children. You can lose your job. You can lose status in your community. Children can lose, for lack of a better way to describe it, can lose their futures. And ultimately, you can lose your life.
How does this issue impact the students of JCPS, the local community?
I think it's a terrible impact that it's had on our students and our community. We've got students in this building whose parents are addicted to heroin. We've got students who have family members that are addicted to heroin that are just this heroin epidemic that is facing our community right now it's tearing us apart. And now, what are the answers and how do we fix that? That one's above my pay grade, but I don't know how we fix it. I think more education. I think more just awareness, more treatment options. I think that's the only way that we're gonna beat this.
Important to solve.
Well, I think that it's important to solve because you don't want it affects generations of people. It'll affect generations of families. If you have a mother that's pregnant that's addicted to heroin, her unborn child will grow up and be either addicted to heroin, or when the baby is born will start going through withdrawal symptoms. So yeah, it's a terrible epidemic.
Is it possible to solve this?
Whew. I tell you what, if I knew how to solve it, I wouldn't be talking to you, because I would write a book and would sell it and would be making a lot of money. So I think it can be solved. I think it's a partnership between families, between mental health providers, between the police, between just the entire community needs to be involved, from churches to hospitals. So it's a community epidemic.
Who do you think the key players in the social issue is?
Probably the local government, law enforcement. I think we all play a part. I think everyone is a stakeholder and a key member in trying to figure out how to stop this issue. Everybody from students to parents, everyone is.
Hello, my name is Donna Lay. I have 2 children that have been addicted to drugs.
How do you feel this heroin addiction affects you?
I spend every night wondering if I'm going to get a phone call or police showing up to tell me my son is dead. He has overdosed a number of times and has also fallen into a bad crowd where his life has been in danger. It has also affected his children because he has had a lot of time, or actually they have had a lot of time in jail and have missed a good portion of their children's lives. What else should I say? It also affects every member of my family. They've missed holidays with each other. They've had important times that they wanted to share with each other, and they're not able to. It causes a big distance because you're not sure how many times you're going to be able to take the imprisonments, the fears, and like I said, you live every day in fear that your children are not going to be coming home.
What would you say to other people battling this disease?
Get help. There's nothing that a person that is affected by this, other than the person themselves, can do to change it. You could struggle, you can offer help, but you can't make them take help. If you have children and families, you need to put them first. It's very hard with an addiction because an addiction itself is not curable. It can be helped, but never cured. You will always, always be a drug addict. And it's very, very easy to fall back. It's easier to fall back than it is to stay sober. So if you have someone in your family, all you can do is support them. If they fall off, you go and try and get them help. And once they get back on, you can only support them. There's a good chance they're going to fall off quite a few times before they decide it's enough. But you have no control over it. There's nothing you can do to help them. They can only help themselves.